Now, this is kind of a difficult video to make because it really goes back to the time when I discovered that my wife probably had some kind of issue and that she wasn't acting normal, and her relationship with alcohol was out of whack. And yet, at the same time, I really had no understanding of why or what the reason was or why she was acting the way she was. And this happened really before my son was born, way back in the late 90s. We'd probably been married for about 5 years at this point. And if this is the first time seeing you, I make videos about alcohol use disorder. I was married to an alcoholic, my wife, for 25 years. And unfortunately, she passed away a little over 4.5 years ago after going through 7 rehabs, multiple DUIs, emergency stays, inpatient stays, and psych holds. So I tell the story and really for education to help other families. The big thing was, it was the summer, I would say about 98, 99. It was quite a while ago. And what happened was she had been drinking from the 4th of July. We had a party, and she had continued to drink heavier than normal. And I never, I never really understood what was really going on. So it was the middle of summer. I'm going to say probably 1998. And I just could not understand why she was drinking so heavily, because instead of like one bottle, she was drinking like 1.5 to 2 bottles a night. And it was, it was kind of slow at work. So, I mean, I think there was that kind of stress. But it was extremely weird one night where I woke up in the middle of the night and she wasn't there. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. She wasn't anywhere in the house. I got up, walked around. I had my bathrobe. I was walking around the house yelling for her name, and she wasn't anywhere. And then I heard a big crash on the side of the house. So we lived, at this time, we lived on a lake called Canyon Lake. We had this big wraparound back porch. It was kind of private, but I walked around the back porch and around the side of the house where the garbage cans were. And there she was. She was face down in the gravel on the side of the house, and there was 2 broken bottles, big huge wine bottles that were broken, and she had hit her head, and her head was cut in half, and she didn't have anything on. I mean, she was literally drunk out of her mind, walking on broken glass that she had 2 bottles that she had broken, with a big gouge in the side of her head. And I walked up to her, and I couldn't even convince her of where she was. And for me, it was very, very scary because I could not convince her to even get up. And she's on the side of the house with a very big dig in her face. She had glass on her hands and on her knees, and she was not wearing anything in the middle of the night in our neighborhood. It was very unnerving. And I finally was able to get her up. She was kind of giggling like it was funny. I mean, she had blood running down her face. She had no understanding of what was really going on with her surroundings. Eventually, I was able to coax her back down the side of the house, back around the wraparound walkway on the back of the house, and back into the living room. I was able to clean up her cut, and she ended up going to bed, finally falling asleep. It was very late into the hours of the night. And I think it particularly scared me because I'd never seen somebody really this far gone, and it had been escalating for whatever reason, whatever stress that was coming out. Part of it was her past. I know some trauma that she had was coming out again. She was having trouble dealing with that again. And I think being around her family during the 4th of July, there's always something that kind of escalated her issue. And this was 2-3 weeks after the 4th of July, and after we had a family party, and it began to escalate. And I'd never seen this. I'd never experienced it in my life. And I really tell this story because I think it was this moment that if I had understood as much as I do now, 25, 30 years later, if I had known that then, that would have been a perfect point to have gotten her help way back then. She should have been in a detox rehab the next day. She should have started her recovery, and we should have gone full bore on getting her help. Unfortunately, if you don't know anything, and if you don't have an understanding of what's going on as a family member, you don't know what to do. So what happens? Nothing happens. And that's exactly what happened in my wife's case and in my relationship with her. We had tough conversations, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't even know what a rehab was. I'd never even heard of AA. I didn't even understand the word alcoholism. I mean, that's how little I knew about this particular situation that I was now enveloped in. And I tell this story and so many other stories because this is a disease that needs to come out of the closet. It needs to be discussed. There's so much education that needs to be enveloped with society and with families that are going through this. So if you have a family member who's had moments like this and you don't understand what's going on, it's time to double down on maybe intervention, tough conversations, and boundaries. It's time to take action as a family member because it can be a matter of life and death, and you can save yourself decades of heartache and suffering and just the horror that goes with alcohol use disorder. And again, I hope this video resonates with the people that it's targeted towards. And if you know who you are, if this makes sense to you. And again, I go live Monday through Friday right around 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We also have the Facebook group. It's called There's an Alcoholic in the Family. Link is in the bio. And when you're ready to work with me one-on-one, set up a breakthrough call. Again, Zoom link is in the bio. Set up in the Calendly link. Set up a call. It takes about 45 minutes. We do a deep dive into what's going on with you and your family, and I'm here to help. I mean, I've helped thousands of alcoholics, and just as importantly, their families, and I'm looking for people who want to change their lives. And again, thanks so much for listening.